Hello, hello, Facebook land, general internet people. Welcome to Wednesday night. Sylph, Dominic, Hawkins here, coming to you live, Facebook Live, Wednesday the 29th of April 2020. Part of our Wednesday night meditation and breathwork series. Hi Anna. Going on every week during the incredible lockdown time. Hi Trav, welcome. So I hope that you're all well. We'll give everyone just another couple of minutes to jump on board and then we'll get started for tonight. Hi Lisa. It's good fun seeing you guys pop up. Remember that throughout the video, obviously, I'm just talking. It's just a monologue. Hi Stephen. But I can see your little chats, your Facebook comments pop up on my little screen. It's always good fun. It gives me a good laugh. And it's nice to see you guys talking with each other. So do please chit chat with each other and comment throughout the video. Hi Amber. So that'd be good. I hope that you're well. I hope that your families are well. I hope that this has been a good week as we rock into the end of April. Whoa, we got through a whole month of that. Today's the 29th, so tomorrow is the 30th. Friday's the 1st of May. So on Friday, it is Rainy Spirit Dojo's 11th birthday. The dojo was started, the very first class that I ran was Friday the 1st of May 2009. So it's actually really interesting that we've had this full cycle and it's a Friday the 1st of May. So that's really special. I've got even more things that I will be putting up on the page as a little, not a reward, but just like a little party kind of piece, some fun things. And I hope that you get to enjoy them. So look out for them on Friday, on the 1st, on the Adult Student Online Portal. So now that some of you guys have arrived, I'm sure there'll be others who join us later. We'll get started with tonight. Tonight is session 5. Whoa, bam, session 5. Okay, I'm enjoying this, can you tell? Session 5 of the meditation and breathwork Qigong sessions, videos. We have already spent weeks and weeks and weeks very slowly and patiently going through breathing and fingertips and looking at taking our mind for physical sensation observation and nervous system sensation observation. And we are, it was 10, 5. And we've spent a lot of time just building up in this. Hopefully you've got some basic study here. If you still are struggling, if you find that it still takes you a couple of minutes to take your mind's eye and focus on a particular part of the body, such as looking at or thinking about the thumb, left thumb, if it takes you a minute, I'd say more than a minute, to begin feeling sensation in the thumb, you need to do a lot of practice. And you need to pick up the practice between these sessions, because otherwise I'm going to keep moving faster and they're going to get away from you. So even if maybe it just means that at night time you lie in your bed and before you go to sleep, you close your eyes and you just scan through your body. Start at the top of the head and down to the toes, or start at the toes, go up to the top, whatever, jump around. And just slowly practice observing and experiencing physical sensations, nervous system sensations, in the physical body. So hopefully you guys have got it to less than a minute. Ideally, no more than 30 seconds between when you take your mind's attention to a particular part of the body and straight away it begins to give feedback in sensational response. Okay, because we're gonna be doing we're slowly going to be doing a lot more work with that, and we can't be spending the whole videos just with me like this. As cool as that seems. So, if you're comfortable, or if you're not, great, we're going to get started. Some of you might be watching this from home, you might be sitting, you might be lying, you might be unconscious somewhere and it's just playing in the background, you might be at work, you might be standing up, stacking shelves, whatever it is. Make sure that you're able to just soften your mental perspective while we do this video. If you are working, that's fine. Keep the level of mental focus you need to work and just soften the perspective a little bit. This isn't the time to be sitting down going through your accounting or very diligently, tallying up how much cat food you've got in the in the pantry. Yeah, it's the time to begin to listen to the sounds that you can hear. See what I did there? And as you breathe in and breathe out, you begin listening to the sounds that are close to you. And the sounds that are further away. In through the nose, down to the belly, out through the mouth, tongue on the roof of the mouth, top behind the top 2 front teeth. And we'll take our attention now to our smell, sense of smell. As we're breathing in through the nose, the things that we can smell in the room around us. And out. And in, smelling observation. And out. And in. And down. And now to the sensation of taste. As we breathe in, what can you taste? Three breaths. Now taking our attention to the sensation of tactile experience, the feeling of the body, the weight, the pressure of the body where it meets the ground, standing or in a chair or seated. 3 breaths, taking your mind to that place where your body meets the ground. And now the sensation of sight, with your eyes open or closed. If closed, the soft colours behind the eyelids, phosphors behind the eyes. If open, soft, vague observations, such that the peripheral vision comes into focus. Breathing in through the nose, 3 breaths. What can you see? And just softening your focus, your approach. So hopefully what you found now, that this is session 5, you've had lots of practice building up over the weeks. Hopefully you found that with just very short amount of time, 3 breaths, 5 breaths, applying your focus to each particular sense organ, that you can discover experience of information, you can discover sensation available there, whether that sensation is smells or a sense of taste, or the experience of pressure, or the experience of audible sensation and sounds, or the experience of light and colours and visual phenomena. You should be getting to the point where within 3 or 5 breaths, details of the surrounding environment should become apparent to you. So you're not necessarily hearing like Superman, 200 kilometers away. Do comment in the post if that's happening to you though. But I'm expecting that you should be able to become aware of sounds that you were oblivious to before this video, or at least while you were making dinner or busy. You should be able to become aware of smells in the room or in the area that you're in. Things that have always been there, or maybe been there in this period of time, but you weren't conscious of them. You weren't particularly paying attention to them prior to us just doing that sit down. Or you are suddenly able to taste dinner again. Or maybe there's been something in the air. I know often if I have incense burning at the dojo, not just the smell, I can taste. There's a taste of the incense, of the smoke of the incense in the atmosphere. And that taste, I filter it out if I'm busy, I'm not looking at that. But if I take a moment, 1 breath, 2 breaths, very quickly, my experience of the information about that taste can build quite profoundly. And we use that to map our environment, understand what's going on around us. And it's from that place where a lot of old school Taoism will talk about reaching into those sensations. So it's where, and this is just a different way of thinking about it, reaching out in your hearing, reaching out to hear the sounds on the street, reaching out beyond the street. And it does evoke, while it's not a literal sense of physical reaching, it does evoke that idea of having to extend yourself, having to extend the faculties with which you're using. Your hearing's your hearing, but your ability to extend into the surrounding environment is what we're really playing with and practicing here. So tonight we're going to, now we've sort of moved into that space, we're going to begin again with our left hand. And I told you I'm going to move quite fast through these, expecting that you guys have been able to catch up with your practice. If not, you keep up for as much as you can, and I highly recommend doing a lot more practice, observation practice, before next Wednesday. So starting with the left hand, starting with the left thumb. Taking a moment, we're going to take 5 breaths per finger. So we're going to start in, I don't really mind where you start on the finger. I usually like to start at the tip of the finger or the nail bed. I find that the easiest to experience due to the contrast of the surrounding flesh, or the bone and the hardness of the surrounding soft tissue. And I breathe in and out. I want you to just explore the sensations available of the thumb. 5 breaths. All different parts of the thumb. Don't be surprised if the other fingers come into play, but focus on the thumb. Alright, moving on to the pointer finger on the left hand. Left pointer finger. Same thing, 5 breaths. Whole finger, starting where you wish. Exploring the tissue, the nail, the tips of the finger, the bones, the joints, the tissue. On to the middle finger, left root finger. Same thing, 5 breaths. Exploring the sensations available with the left root finger. And the left ring finger, finger number 4. 5 breaths, eyes open or closed. And finally, the left pinky finger, 5 breaths. Now the entire hand, left hand, 5 breaths, from the wrist to the fingertips. You're a step back and abstracting your perspective, yeah? A layer of abstraction, just observing the entire hand, sensation. And now we're going to move to the right hand, and we're going to step up the pace. No longer 5 seconds per finger, 5 breaths per finger. We're going to take 10 breaths for the entire hand. So you start wherever you like, from the wrist up to the fingers. And in 10 breaths, we're going to explore the entire sensation of the hand itself, the right hand now. Eyes open or closed, breathing in through the nose, down to the belly. Tongue on the roof of the mouth, breathing out through the mouth. So 10 breaths for this hand. Keep going. Okay, so now we've done both hands, left hand and right hand. I know I'm moving very fast. So I said, for those who have just joined us, tonight's video is moving very quickly. It's a session 5. My expectation is that you have either been doing all the other sessions on the Wednesday night or been doing some practice during the week as well, and you should be able to really draw up and observe and experience physical sensation, nervous system sensation in parts of the body, especially commonly accessed parts of the body, very quickly, within a few breaths. Yeah, 3 or 4, 5 breaths. If it's still taking you more than a minute, or even more than 5 breaths, really, to focus on a particular part of the body that is commonly used, and to begin to experience physical sensations there in your nervous system, then you need to do a lot more practice. You need to keep going with the video, do your best, do a lot of practice between now and next Wednesday, or else you're going to get left behind. So now we've got the 2 hands. We're going to go back and we're going to take the left hand, we're going to join the first finger, pointer finger, and the thumb together. And we're going to observe the experience of nervous system sensation in the surrounding circle of the two fingers. So all the flesh, the tissue, the bone, where the fingers meet, the nails, the bed, all the individual components that make up those fingers. But we're going to be just circling our mental observation, our focus through them. It doesn't have to be fast. It can be slow as you work through different parts of the body. But this shape. So we're going to do that in 5 breaths. In through the nose, down to the belly, out through the mouth, tongue on the roof of the mouth. Eyes open or closed. Direction is irrelevant. Then go of the first finger, thumb and the middle finger, left hand. We're going to do the same observation. Doesn't matter which direction you travel your observation. 5 breaths, left hand, thumb and middle finger touch. Exploring all the sensation of the connecting tissues, both fingers. And letting go of the middle finger, thumb and the ring finger, thumb and the 4th finger on the left hand. Same activity, observing sensation in all the fingers, the flesh, the bones of the connecting little circle. 5 breaths. Keep your mind focused on the task. If you notice your mind wander off into thoughts or observing sensation in other parts of the body, bring it back. Remember what you're looking at. You're not thinking about your feet, thinking about your thumb and ring finger on your left hand. And then go, the final one on the left hand, thumb and pinky finger. Joining 5 breaths. And letting go of the left fingers and shake. Check the time. Oh, 8:28. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the right hand, but I'm going to force you to move faster. You've got 3-second sections for this, not 5. So now, Allow the left hand to just fall out of your attention. Right hand, right thumb, right pointer finger, touch. Those of you who've done black belt study with me, high grade study, we're effectively now into the mudra. Yeah, we're looking at the mudra shapes. So in Japanese they're called the kujikiri. The 9 sacred seals, but there's heaps more than 9. So it's a metaphorical name for other purposes. Breathing in and out. You gotta make fun of yourself here. Observing sensation, experience in the fingers. Breathing through the nose, down to the belly, out through the mouth. Allow the breath to shape your body. If it wants to cavitate your chest, let it do that. If it wants to push out your ribs, let it do that. Moving on. I didn't think I was counting the breaths. Thumb and middle finger, thumb and root finger, right hand. 3 breaths. Observing sensation. I know I'm moving very fast, so just keep up. Letting go. Right thumb and ring finger. Fingertip to fingertip. Letting go, right thumb and right pinky finger. Fingertip to fingertip, breathing in through the nose, down into the belly, out through the mouth. Mental focus on observing sensation in the fingers that we are using. Ignore the rest of the body. Letting go. So, how did you guys find that at home? Generally, that activity is much harder than just individual isolated observation experiences, and I was moving us very quickly. So, if you've been keeping up with the sessions over the last few weeks and you've been doing a bit of practice, you'll probably be able to just keep up with that pace. If you haven't been, then that would be really hard. You probably would have found some of the fingers were just numb, or an experience of numbness, or they became very cold, or that you simply couldn't actually even begin to get your mind to connect into that feeling. So things to practice at home. What we're going to be doing, we're going to move on to some other stuff tonight, but next week, it's important that you practice this over the week. Practice this breathing, make these mudra shapes, yeah? These are simple mudra shapes, they're not complicated yet. We'll get into them later. So what I want you guys to get ready for is that next week we're going to be doing some breath experience like this. And we are going to have to isolate the individual experience of the individual fingers in this shape. So that's something for next week. Yeah, you're going to need to have practice. Now we're going to take our attention from the hands to the feet. So within 5 breaths, I want you to take your mind down into your feet, whether you're standing or sitting. it doesn't matter. Start at the toes of both feet. You're going to do this in parallel, simultaneously, both feet at the same time. I want you to start up at the toes. If you find that the base of the soles and the pads, the under the knuckle of the feet begin activating in your attention, take your attention out towards the toes to start with. And just as if like a stone skipping across water, just lightly touch your attention on each of the toes. On both feet, left and right. Okay, and now slowly, both feet at the same time, start drawing your attention back along the foot, from the toes to the heel. Slowly, over the next 5 breaths. The flesh on the top, the flesh on the bottom, the bone in the middle. Both feet simultaneously. Making your way to the heel of the feet. Okay, now hopefully you've been able to experience a sense of observation, sensation, like an energizing sensation in the feet, of the feet. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make comparisons in our mind between both hands and both feet. So we're going to start in the feet, get your hands ready in kind of the backup of your mind's view. I just have to eventually make up language for this, yeah? To get the point across through video to you. So, starting in the feet, and just experiencing sensations of the feet. In general, a very vague sensation of the feet, both feet. And now I just draw my mind in one breath up to my hands. And I just observe sensation of my hands. Observing the hands. Ignore the feet. Take total mental focus into your hands. In a complete abstract layer. You're not looking at the details of the fingers as much, you're just the hand in general. Yeah, both hands. Now in one breath, draw your attention along the flesh of the body, through the bone system, down to the feet. Ready? Now looking at the feet. Ignoring the hands. Back at the feet, breathing, looking at the feet. Experiencing the sensation of the feet, maybe the tingling sensations. Both feet. Now in one breath we're going to draw the attention. What I mean by that is literally as if your mind's like a pencil. Draw up through the bones, through the flesh, up the legs of the shins, up through the knees, past the hips, up the chest, the torso, up, down both arms, past the elbows, down the forearms, into the fingers. You can do that in a wave breath, so in and out. And by the time you finish the outward breath, you're in the hands. Your mind is in your hands. Observing the hands, physical sensation. So starting in the feet, one wave breath all the way up into the hands. Off we go. Arriving your mind in the hands at the end of the outward breath. And now observing the sensation, experience in the hands. Breathing in and out, in through the nose, down into the belly. Out through the mouth. Focus on the hands, ignore the feet. I know what you're up to at home, because it happens to me as well. So focus on the hands. And now in one breath cycle, one wave of breath, draw through the body back to the feet. Off we go. Arriving mentally at the feet, ready? Observing the feet. Nothing else matters, observe only the feet. Now, one wave cycle of the breath, up through the body, up and at the hands. Off we go. Ready to observe the hands, only the hands. Ignore everything else. And just relaxing your focus. Suddenly listening again to the sounds of the rain on the roof. Perhaps. Any smells in the room. Sensation of body weight, the pressure of your body where it meets the ground. Clicks and cracks. And hopefully what you were able to experience in that little oscillation activity that we did, breathing with the hands and with the feet, is that as we rock back and forward like a seesaw, like a swing, we find that every time we return from the feet to the hands for a few breaths, to the feet, it's easier. It should become more apparent. Every time you return to the feet, they should become heightened in your awareness. They should become, your ability to perceive the subtleties of sensation of the feet should be increasing. And the more we do it, the more it increases. And the more we do it, the more it increases. And then having this oscillation, what hopefully, those of you who are keeping up to speed, you might have been able to experience when you draw your mind up, it really does feel like a wave of tingling, as if you're moving your mind through the flesh, through the body. And as you do so, an experience of the nervous system sensation just through the body at different sections of the body. And it often feels like this smooth waving feeling up, as if, remember when you suddenly get like a cold chill and you can feel the chill wave through your body as everything catches up to the frequency of that experience, your cellular resonance. So too in this experience nervously and using our mind. So often what occurs is that oscillating back and forward generates such practiced observation of sensation in the two parts that it becomes sometimes difficult to isolate them apart. So that when you draw out the body and you're looking at your hands, your feet are still there in the background of your mind. And when you draw away from the hands down into the feet, your hands are still there in the background of your mind. Maybe the tingling or the sensation of pulsing or throbbing, or perhaps the sensation of warmth, or the experience of the differential between the air temperature and the skin temperature, and so on and so on. So what is a lot of fun is to be able to oscillate these experiences back and forward in all sections of the body. And obviously what occurs is an increased ability to experience subtle sensation change across the whole generalized body. So that from the relationship's no longer just the hands and the feet, it could be the relationship between the hands and the face. You know, if you take a moment and you have your hands, we do this very quickly. I'm not expecting you to just get it, but give it an attempt. That doesn't make any sense. Just do the activity. So breathing in and out. Start with the hands and just very generally, abstractly observe sensation in the hands in general, like an abstract layer abstraction. Good, and now draw like that pencil up through the body, up through the bone to the forehead. And now just observe the forehead, sensations of your forehead. And now drawing down the body in a wave of breath back to the hands. Observing the sensation of the hands again, another few breaths. And now one breath, wave all the way, draw that pencil line up into your forehead. And now observing the sensations of the forehead. Now one wave breath, drawing back down through the bone structure to the hands. Now observing sensation in the hands. But ignore the forehead. Focus on the hands. Only the hands. And just softly relaxing them. So you can find that with just a little bit of this oscillation practice, it's a very good way of heightening the experience of sensation, the subtle sensation of all different parts of the body by drawing them in relationship to something that you can very easily feel. So you start with something like the hands or the feet. If you find that it's super easy for you to just think about your feet and immediately you start getting feedback experientially about the feet, start there. And then breathe for a few times, really build on that experience, really as if you listen to the rain, and the more you listen, the more you hear. Just build on the experience, listen to the feet, and then take that pencil line, draw that up to some part of the body, one shoulder, or your throat, or your right pinky, or whatever it is, the tip of your nose, your hair, if you really want to challenge, your beard, and then oscillate between the two. And what you find is that the incredible ease you have in experiencing sensation, the subtle experience of sensation of the feet will contrast against the lowly practiced sensation observation of the other body area. And this is how you use that contrast to develop both areas, so that you get a really clear sense of like, that's what I can feel. That's what I'm not feeling. And slowly they both become areas of accessible observation. Now, I'm gonna check the time. 15 minutes to go. So, I'm bang on par. What we're gonna do next, we take this act of using our mind in this cyclic breath to draw, as if we're drawing with a pencil, and as if imagine I was just like a 2D picture on a piece of paper. And I told you to get a pencil and draw a line from my big toes up through my body to my fingers, to my thumbs perhaps. And you would just draw it right through the center of the body. And if we make that three-dimensional, it's the bone system and the bone structure, the marrow of the bone, blood vessels in the marrow of the bone, that really are the line that runs through the center of the body structure. So you can imagine that it's the bone system that you're using to kind of draw along. And in traditional Qigong, doing that exact activity, using the bone structure, is called marrow washing. And it's used to increase not just blood flow, but also cell regeneration in the body itself. But I'm not about to comment on the scientific observation of that. I'll leave you to go and do your own research. What we find is that in the martial art context, this kind of observation will show us where injuries are in the body. So if there is a section of the body, if we become very used to this oscillating experience of sensation, and we find that it's quite easy within a few breaths to explore the sensation available at different parts of the body. And then we take our mind to a section, maybe I don't know, we're just going through a checklist of body parts. And we arrive at a particular body part and it doesn't respond to our observation, or it doesn't respond easily, or it's very difficult to penetrate mentally. what that tells us is that there is some kind of resistance to taking our mind there, usually some form of injury, whether or not it's actually like a psychosomatic injury. We've been injured in the past and now we flinch away from that section, but maybe there isn't actually any remaining physiological injury as such, or tension or muscle tension that would be causing a reduction in blood flow, or muscle tension or constriction, blood flow constriction that would be reducing the feedback from nerve tissue, nerve endings. So whether it's actual physical injury or psychological aversion to exploring those areas, that's up for you to work out. And usually you are the ones who know your body quite well, so you can work that out. But this is how you explore and you discover areas of the body that are kind of laying low beneath your gaze. They're difficult to observe, and what you will probably find, not always, but what you will generally find is that those areas are colder to the touch, they have lower blood flow, they have reduced blood flow, and they are difficult. When you attempt to explore the sensations of them, you might find numbness, and it's difficult to get beyond numbness. Now what you do with those is you simply observe them. So right now, I say, as we breathe, I want you to just breathe in and out, and I want you to begin listening to the sounds outside your house. And if you are able to maintain focus on the audible sensation, hopefully what you would have discovered is that all of a sudden there's an initial peak of new information, sounds that you kind of were hearing but you weren't really listening to. You suddenly hear them, so there's a spike in your information gathering, and then slowly it continues an upward trend. It continues to increase in detail. Maybe it fleshes out. Start with, for me here, the sound of the rain above the room, and then I realize actually I can hear strange echoes of the sound of the rain on other sections of the house, and I can hear the rain on the roof of the shed outside, a tin roof. You start to flesh out greater detail. If you in your practice in your body tissue, if you discover a section of the body that appears numb, and your continued attempt to penetrate that mentally just continues to throw up numbness or this very vague area, just soften. I don't mean furrow your brow and get really angry and force yourself to feel something. I mean just soften in the same way that you listen to the sound of the rain. When I tell you to listen, you're not listening beyond what you can currently hear, because that doesn't make any sense. That's impossible. You have to start at where you are, and then from that place, the boundary extends, and then you meet the new boundary, and then it extends, and then you meet the new boundary. And very slowly, you expand the range of your audible observation. Same thing with the system in the body. And what you will find, if they are injuries, is that this process, generally, what I have found for myself is I can increase the time, I can reduce the time that an injury plagues me, generally. If it's like a particular soreness or a particular numbness or a particular type of muscle tension, I can usually, with this activity, within a few breaths, I can eradicate the experience of pain. And I do that by observing it, and what happens is the sensation of physical pain divides into sub-experiences, and usually what I then experience is sensations of density and throbbing, but no longer wincing pain as such. And then I choose to observe one of those, and usually it's the one that is the loudest. So if it's a sense of throbbing, I then observe that, and it changes, and usually that throbbing immediately vanishes, and what I find come up instead, in my observation of that area, what comes up instead of throbbing is something like cold, immense cold, and tightness. So like, huh, interesting. So I use that when I have body pain. I use this process to observe sensation and be breathing and continue to just allow the experience of the vibrational nervous system sensation. And what I am using it to do, one of the things I'm using it to do in that context is to reduce the experience of pain, of physical pain. Yeah. So Shakyamuni Buddha has some excellent commentary on that in his Vipassana Sutras, effectively, where he really presents well, he didn't write them yet. 700 years later, after he died, they were written, but where it is presented by his disciples, stories about his time under the Bodhi tree, where he sat and he observed pain or observed physical sensation. That what he found and what he kind of commented on was that he discovered that mental focus and the experience of pain cannot coexist. So that if you have an experience of pain, and our natural tendency is to wince away from it and to get away from it and to look over there, distract ourselves from it and ignore it. If we actually, ironically, really look at the pain mentally, really just hone in on the area. Let's say that I've done this a few times. What was just a simple one, not a crazy tragic one. I had a massive slash, using a knife, cutting up something, and I just lacerated my thumb, like knuckle to tip. And after about 10 seconds, that became extremely painful. And I found, and I kept wanting, my aversion was to go there to look, I wanted to go and solve it, but it was increasing in this stabbing sharp pain. I sat down, it's bleeding, I'm holding a bandage around it. I stop and I breathe, and I just decide to stop running away from it, take a moment and look at it. And very quickly, within a few breaths, the sensation of that stabbing sharp pain just vanished. And what I discovered instead was now a new feeling of heat. It was very hot, a sensation of heat and a prickly sensation, which didn't carry with them any of the muscle tension of pain or any of the concern of pain that I've come to learn about. Yeah, it just, because I don't really have a lot of emotional story about spiky sensation. It's not something I spend a lot of time developing stories about. So if that's what I'm experiencing, my mind's kind of quiet, I'm like, oh, it's fascinating. And one of the things an experience that I certainly had when I the first time that I explored Vipassana, I was 20. It was my 21st birthday present to myself. Not recommended. I went and spent the 11 days or 12 days in the silent meditation at the Wuru Yalok Vipassana Centre here in Melbourne. So that was 13 years ago or whatever. And what I found was that by about day 8, when I was finally willing to actually do the practice, I'd spent 8 days simply replaying every memory of tape cassette that I'd recorded and books that I'd read and conversations I'd had, and I'd replayed CDs and CD albums that I had that I could literally play them through track by track, the fade-ins, the fade-outs between each track. I managed to distract myself for a good 7 days drawing on that, until eventually I can't remember if I actually ran out of material to think about, to distract myself, or if for some reason I was just finally willing to actually do the meditation. But I, for a few days before that, from about day 3 or 4, I had begun developing incredible shoulder pain all through this top ridge, in from this clavicle. And it was immense, this incredible pain. Yeah, totally, Jess. And what happened was, day 8, day 9, I'm doing the practice, doing meditation, and this sensation of pain just continues to increase. And by about day 10, it felt as if when I'd sit down and do 4 or 5 hour just sits of meditation, it was as if my shoulder, it felt like it was swinging and vibrating, swinging a meter forward, front and back. That was the sensation, this incredible pounding, pulsing sensation. And I remember sitting in a meditation hall in winter, I'm on my little cushion, I'm wrapped in my blankets with everyone else in the dark. And I'm crying. You're not allowed to make any noise. Yeah, I'm just sitting there crying. Tears are just pouring out into my lap because the experience of this pain was so overwhelming. And I had one of the things that one of the goals is not to move the body. It's to just observe that sensation. And so those of you who know me, you know that when I set my mind to something, I stick to it just out of spite. And so I was like, well, I'm not moving. So I sat down for 5 hours and it's so painful. I'm crying. And what happened was I just decided eventually to look at the point of the pain. I'd spent a couple of days, attempting meditation, being worried, trying to get away from this feeling, constantly oscillating between my attempt of the meditation and this experience of pain. And then finally, day 10 or whatever it was, I was like, fine, God, bloody hell, I guess I'll actually do the thing I'm here to do. And so I turned my mental focus, and I was concerned that all that would do was suddenly massively ramp up my experience of the pain. But what I found was that within a very short period of time, maybe a couple of minutes, of me really looking, and I was keen to find under my gaze where it's actually painful. The whole thing was vague pain, but I was like, well, I'm pretty sure my whole shoulder's not on fire. Maybe it's a muscle pain, maybe it's a bone issue. And I was attempting to really hone in on the fine point. And I was able to find the specific point, and I can still feel it. I know where that point is. And what I found was, once I started looking there, that vibrational sensation, this huge feeling of as if my shoulder was about to just as if I was made of pixels and it was just going to dislodge out of my being, that just vaporized, just vanished. And all of a sudden, there was this fantastic sense of just coolness. And I'm sitting, sitting in this meditation hall. I'm just sitting there, wrapped in my towel, cold, breathing, looking at my shoulder, and all of a sudden, there's no more experience of pain. It's completely gone. There isn't even an experience of this shaking vibration. That's gone. And the part of my shoulder that I was looking at that I could so clearly pinpoint, I couldn't find. And I began searching. I remember almost being quite worried, thinking, oh, maybe it's really bad. Maybe it's gone numb and now it's over. I'll just drop dead tomorrow. No one will know. Some great blood clot's moving or something. I was attempting to look for any sensation I could in the entire shoulder, and I couldn't actually find any. And I would sit and I'd look, and I couldn't experience any sensation of pain. All I could experience was things I could smell and hear. I could feel the weight of my body on the ground, but it wasn't a painful experience. I could feel my fingers buzzing in my toes, and the coolness of the air in the meditation hall against the little skin I had exposed. And then I started to realize, I remember this very viscerally, I remember thinking, oh, what about that other pain I had? And I took my mind across, like a lower back ache. And I couldn't find that either. And a pain in my knee that had been there a few days before, and that was gone. And I became almost a little bit hysterical, but still completely quiet, sitting there stoically. I became a little bit hysterical that I was scanning my body in my mind, and I couldn't find a single point of the experience of pain. All I could find when I looked were detailed experiences, density, sharpness, and this might sound strange, they're just words I put to metaphors for my own being, yeah? Sensations of like bigness and quietness. And that was all that I could find in my body. Nowhere that I scanned could I discover what I call pain. And it was an incredible experience. It actually lasted with me for months. I remember that then, go through that day, I sleep, day 11, it was a half-day meditation. I think we were able to finish and leave the temple at midday on the next day. And I didn't want to go. I was like, no, I'm ready now. I've finally just done the meditation. Can I do like another month? Can I stay? But unfortunately, I had a life to return to. So what happened was that probably for the next couple of months, I remember when I returned to Melbourne and I'm back in the house I was living at, my partner at the time, I was still amazed. And I thought, this is amazing. This is just the new thing. Now I'll never feel pain ever again. That didn't last because I didn't actually continue the practice at that time. I was like, this is fun. Anyway, moving on, back to, whatever. It slowly started to fade, that experience, and my ability to explore these sensations and the subtlety of that started to reduce again. It wasn't until probably wasn't until I started the dojo. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't until I started the dojo 1st of May 2009, which would have been about, I don't know, maybe a year and a half later or something like that, or 2 years later, a year or two later. It wasn't until I started the dojo again that I was like, that's right. Now I have to return to my practice. I'm teaching Hoshinden Jutaijutsu. A key component of that is this kind of breath work and this kind of sensation, observation, cultivation. And so I better get back into that. And then it was just continuing and not starting again, but I had a lot of catching up to do. I had a lot of practice I had to do those early years. So it is 9 o'clock, 9:04. I've kept you on. I'm going to wrap up the video. Hopefully they were fun stories. Hopefully this was actually a session tonight where if you hadn't already in the previous sessions experienced some of the sensation or that detail of tangible experience, tactile observation, hopefully tonight was when that happened. And do leave me a comment. I always enjoy reading about where you guys are at and how you've been going, especially if you have been finding these experiences. If you haven't, write a comment and just be like, man, I have no idea what you're talking about. I look at my hand for half an hour and I feel nothing. That's great. Write a comment. I'll dialogue with you and we'll see if we can see if I can help you get towards a position where you might experience something else. I can never say. All I can do is just talk about the experiences that I find. I wish you all an awesome evening. I hope that all of this is beneficial to you, and I'm going to be super blunt and put it out there that one of the key, yes, new joke on Friday, Stephen, thank you. One of the key areas that I hope that you will use all of this for is in relationship mentally and through anxiety to the current state of the world, the current situation occurring, and the current states of the economy and financial systems, etc., and work. That you can explore the difference between the discussions about the economy and the feelings within you. And remember, they're not the same, yeah? They are separate. So that if you are finding a lot of anxiety, just take a moment and breathe and listen. And if you really think you're ready for it and you want to test yourself, just like you can take your mind to a particular place of pain and just explore, find out what happens if you take your mind to the positions of anxiety. If there is a particular topic that you really resist and you really shy away from because it feels like a ball of anxiety, just as an experiment, don't throw yourselves off the top of the building. Just what happens if you take your mind and you peer into the middle of it? Like really just look into the center of it and then do this practice. Just breathe, just look at it and then oscillate between that experience and something tangible for you. Maybe a photo of a good time or the experience of your feet vibrating. Yeah? And then swing back to this ball that you call the terrible thing that will happen, and if it happens, my life's over, and look at it. And then swing back to the good, and just oscillate until you can penetrate that experience mentally. See what happens. Good luck. Hope you have an awesome rest of the week. I will see you on Friday night for Stephen's new joke of the week and the philosophy and, what do I call it? Philosophy and theory session number 6. Have a good night. Lots of love.